Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
As promised, there are sheets being passed out now. If I don't have enough, I'll bring more next week. But those sheets have recommended software it's all free to use. There's antiviruses, internet browsers, and accounts you can get for email and some cloud storage as well. The cloud storage has tiers, so there's one, the entry level is free, but then after that, if you want more storage, you can pay for it. Usually reasonable prices, but any questions on that, let me know. We'll handle that when we get to it. So today we're covering part 4. We're moving on further into internet with social media. And today we're actually going to take a look at a church that has really, they probably don't need it. I got them on that already.
I figured.
But we'll be looking at a church that has really taken a huge advantage and really pushed the envelope of what churches can do with social media. But first, we still have a review. We won't go into too much detail this time, but we've seen how from the most simple piece of technology, the wheel, still in use today, not just usable back then, but now still being used today to help people get to churches and missionaries move from one place to another, all the way up to the radio and TV, which is still reaching millions and millions of people today where we can't get a physical person at. And then last week we dove into the internet and just, answer some general questions. Hopefully everybody has better knowledge of the internet technology itself now. And then today we're going to be starting out with social media. And one of the first social medias that came about was MySpace. Does anybody know about MySpace? Heard about it. Okay. As one of the very first social medias, I was on there. It wasn't that great of a website. It didn't look great or anything like that, but it let you connect with people. MySpace was invented on August 1st in 2003. And then very shortly after that, Facebook, February 4th, 2004. And Twitter on March 21st, 2006. So Facebook has become the replacement for MySpace, essentially. MySpace still exists, but Facebook has really taken over. And Facebook is still that social media where you connect with your friends, connect with people you haven't seen in a while, keep up with them and everything else. And then Twitter is the one, I'm eating this really beautiful meal. Let me take a picture and post it on Twitter. I will never understand that. Yes. Now, I am on Twitter. I do follow some celebrities and everything. They post stuff on there, but most of the time they post the same thing on Twitter that they post on Facebook. But it's just yet another way that people can go out there and post information. And then YouTube, February 14th, 2005. So YouTube is more unique from the other Facebook and Twitter. It's not just, let's post something that's, what I'm eating or update on my life or something like that. People actually created full-blown news channels on YouTube where you can just go and watch. You don't have to worry about, do I have the signal with the rabbit ears or am I paying for cable to get this news? It's just right there. And of course, churches such as ourselves are using YouTube to stream services and Sunday school classes and other things like that. And there's, if you want to find it on the YouTube, it's there. And child programming as well. Instagram, anybody use that one? All right. That's another one that I'm not on that one, but that's the one that really gets a lot of food pictures. Instagram was created October 6th in 2010 and is actually owned by Facebook. So Facebook decided, hey, we don't like Twitter doing all the food posting. We want food posting too. So here's Instagram. Now, one of my personal favorites is LinkedIn. Founded December 28th in 2002. LinkedIn is the professional network. So you're going to have a lot of professionals on there. A lot of them in the technological field. So, if you were to look at my LinkedIn profile, you see that a lot of my connections are other web developers, some security networking, and just varying degrees. And several of my college professors are connections on there as well. And then previous employers, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not going to go on there and find people posting, here's what I just did today, going out here. They're not going to post about their food. They're posting stuff that is related to their field of work. But it is still considered a social media because you're making those connections. It's more connect with people that can help you get better jobs, whereas Facebook is connect with old friends. And then Google Plus. June 28th, 2011, they tried to compete with Facebook. And while I love Google, they didn't do too well competing with Facebook, with Google+. But it's still running. And anybody that has a Google account, whether you started your Google account with email or the Drive or whatever, one account with Google gives you all of their platforms. So Google+, Drive, email, Photos, and others. So these are the top social medias that exist right now. Now the next one here is going to be a little bit weird, but it'll make sense later on. Social games. Has anybody heard the term MMO? Okay. Well, I'll say. MMO, massive multiplayer online. So an MMO is a game, 9 times out of 10, it's a game where you have thousands and thousands of players on different servers playing with each other. And a lot of times these players are social. They're sitting there chatting with each other in between taking their avatar and beating up this bad dragon in a dungeon somewhere. Some of the top MMOs right now, Albion Online, started in 2017. Personal favorite, EVE Online, like a second job. It was 2003. Now, EVE Online gets very, very detailed in their social. It is, like I said, it's very much like a second job. If you get involved in EVE Online, you're manufacturing, you're harvesting minerals and building. It's a spaceship game. So you're building ships and bullets for these ships so they can go to war and everything else. And if you dedicate enough time to it, you can run an actual business in-game and pay for your game time with in-game money and never have to spend a real dollar. But you have to put a lot of time into it. It becomes a second job. But it's fun.
Addiction.
And that's for another class. Another game in a very similar avenue as EVE is Entropia Universe, created in 2003. And then also in 2003 is Second Life. Now all of these, except for Albion Online, have EVE, Entropia, and Second Life are all very much, you have to be really dedicated to play these games. Because they have, Second Life, you can buy a business and run a business inside the game. EVE Online, you're not necessarily buying a business, but you are running a business, putting stuff up on the auction house to sell it. And within Entropia Universe, very much like EVE, actually Entropia combines the two. You can sell stuff on the auction house, and you can also buy digital buildings to sell stuff out of. And then Albion is strictly the auction house with other things. It's more casual than the other two.
eBay?
But eBay is not MMO. These are all games. And like I said, I know it's weird, but you'll see why in a little bit.
Is this where you met your wife?
No. That's another social site, Reddit. So these are just a couple examples of games where players do get together, and while some of these are like second jobs in a way, these people are communicating together and they're having a social event. So
would you say a current one for young people right now would be Fortnite?
Fortnite is a very popular game, but it's not a social game.
Okay, because they connect with each other and play.
And they kill each other.
Yes.
That's it. They're not talking.
That's not very
What
social.
about Minecraft and stuff like that?
Minecraft becomes very close to being a social game because a lot of times the server that you're playing on is run by another person that you know, and you're getting in there and you're building stuff together. Sometimes you're on a player versus player server, and so you're fighting against other players, but you might have a team. So in that aspect, yes, Minecraft could be considered a social game.
Clash of Clans.
Mobile games, no.
I have nieces and nephews, and they're very, very much into Fortnite right now.
Yeah, Fortnite is I think Call of Duty or Medal of Honor. Fortnite's just a cartoon version of that.
Yes, which is why they like it. Which is why they like it.
Yeah, and so it's not they're not going in there. They might have their couple of friends that they're chatting with, but it's not the in-depth. Like people will spend 12 hours on EVE or Entropia straight. Now I know people will do that on Fortnite too, but it's not as common. These become an entirely different.
When do they go to school and sleep?
Well, these are adults. These are people like me with no life. No, but
Yeah, something the other day.
Yeah,
I said that when a poll showed 80%, or maybe it was higher than that, would rather text somebody than pick up the phone and call them. They don't talk by phone at all.
Yeah.
Never speak. They don't speak to each other.
It's
And they can slam each other easier without having to face them and see what their reaction was when you call them a bad name.
yeah.
I have a question too.
Mm-hmm.
Back on the social media, what do you know about Snapchat?
Snapchat, I don't like it.
Snapchat is very similar. The main thing that distinguishes Snapchat from something like Facebook is you send something out and it only stays there right then, and then it, in theory, goes away.
In theory.
Right.
Yeah.
In theory.
Snapchat owns everything that you send through them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have a copy of it somewhere.
But where you can look on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and look at, oh, what have my friends said, 2 years ago or whatever. Snapchat is what have your friends said in the last
30 seconds.
minutes. Yeah.
But Snapchat now has stories where you can go back and look at stuff that they've sent
Oh, yeah.
throughout the entire week. So they keep evolving all these things. A lot of social media becomes redundant, and there's no reason to always jump on the new thing. Like Google Plus, I jumped on that when it first came out, and it's pretty much dead now, because people just didn't want to move away from Facebook. But that being said, let's put the social media and social games. Let's put that in the back of your minds right now. Just think about them. Right now, we're going to go and take a look at a church that has really taken the internet and technology and used it in a massive way. Life.church. Now, they went through several different changes. They were Life something, then Church Life, Church.tv, but now they are Life.church. Well, said as Life Church, but it's not. They were founded in January 1996, and they were in Oklahoma City, had about 40 members, and they're meeting together in a 2-car garage equipped with just a borrowed overhead projector and 2 construction lights that they purchased at Lowe's. There's all those information. I was not hitting my button correctly. So they started out really small, very small. And now, from 1996 to 1999, they had some rapid growth. And during that time, they built their first facility, now known as the Oklahoma City campus. And in 2001, Metro Church, a 25-year-old non-denominational church in Edmond, Oklahoma, joined with Life Church and making them a multi-site location. And then, following that success, in 2003, they built a new location in Tulsa, in Stillwater. And they incorporated satellite video technology. So this is one of the first churches who, they had one preacher, and now they're broadcasting from their main campus to the other 2 locations, or 3 locations at this point in time, via the internet. Now, it's not necessarily YouTube or anything like that, but they have their direct feed to those locations. And then they opened an additional campus in Oklahoma City. They called it the South Oklahoma City campus in spring of 2005. And in February 2006, they introduced a campus in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, I don't have the names of all their different locations, but right now, since 1996, they now have over 30 locations. And all these locations are using, some of the latest technology. I mean, from 40 members to 30 locations across the United States. That's a pretty huge jump. So they're using all the latest technology. They're doing a satellite TV, and they have a church online. Now, remember the game Second Life that we just talked about? They have church services in the game every Sunday.
In the game?
In the game. They have an avatar that somebody in the church controls, probably a preacher. This avatar goes up, stands up in front of the podium, and you have other people controlling their avatars in the game coming into that church and listening to this avatar preach.
How do you feel about that?
An avatar is your digital representation of yourself.
So anybody could preach.
They could, yeah. But because the way the game is set up, the podium can only be accessed by somebody that's in that corporation, essentially, the way the game is set up. So yes, anybody can stand up and start talking, but once somebody stands up and activates the podium, everybody else is silenced, and that person then speaks. And if, they can still leave or whatever, but then it's whoever's on that podium is a member of the church in some way, and is more than likely designated by the pastor or the deacons to be the preacher for the digital church.
Okay.
So they've been running this. Now, their church online expands more than just Second Life. They have YouTube, they got Second Life, and they have many, many videos available just online in a way to present the word. And their main focus is that the church is not a building, but it's a people. And I think we've covered that a few times in service. It's not just the church; it is the people. Anybody that is saved and professes Christ as their Savior is part of the church. And so they say they're looking at it strictly as that, and they're saying whatever we can use, we're going to use that to preach to whoever will listen. So in 2007 is when they started that, but they also have, there's a couple more of their locations. And then in 2008, they went into the mobile applications. They have an app called YouVersion. It's also been known as Bible.com or the Bible app. And it's an online and mobile platform published for Android and iPhone and Windows phones and many other operating systems. YouVersion's Bible app features 1,492 Bible versions, 1,074 languages, audio Bibles for popular versions, offline capabilities, as well as over 800 Bible plans on specific topics, portions of the Bible, the entire Bible, and devotionals. So everybody heard Our Daily Bread? They've digitized it, essentially, that very same idea. They have the commentaries, the 800 Bible plans. Those are commentaries, those are devotional plans and everything that people can, they're dealing with a particular issue in their life. They can pull up this app, search for that issue, and there's probably 2 or 3 plans for every issue that you can think of, that they can then go and study the Bible and what the Bible has to say about that, whatever that issue is. So this church. Now they're using Facebook, they're using Twitter, they're using YouTube, they're using. They probably use MySpace because they started around the same time MySpace started out. But this church is a shining example now that maybe they don't have all the same beliefs or core values that we do, but they do. They've shown us how technology can really impact the faith and spread the gospel throughout the entire world. So in that aspect, they have fulfilled the commandment that we receive from Jesus Christ in Matthew, the Great Commission. So that's all I have for that. Yes?
Doesn't New Spring do basically the same thing where they had the one campus
Mm-hmm.
and then they started all the satellites and
Yep.
Terry would preach and he would go out to all of the satellites?
Yeah. There's a lot of churches now doing that. As far as I can tell, though, Life.Church was the first one to really start that, and now we do have many more popping up. There's one near where I live, actually connected to a YMCA that I believe operates on the same. Is that Grace? Okay. Yeah. So that's now. I'll be completely honest with you. When I was growing up, we went to a Grace Baptist Church over in Pelzer, and a few things I learned from the pastor over there was Pastor Gray. He said, "Never put anything on top of your Bible." So, unless I got it inside the pocket to help me carry it, you will never see me lay anything on top of my Bible. Not going to happen. And with that in mind, there were several times when people started bringing their iPads to church and reading the Bible. When the pastor said, "Turn to this page," and they're on their iPads, I fussed at my mom one time. Bring your actual Bible, not your iPad. It got so much on my nerves. I was building websites then, I think, already. But I hated bringing the technology in the church.
Michael, I got to do this. I got to do this. Okay. Okay. Think about this. I work construction.
Mm-hmm.
How many people work construction that carries their Bible with them?
Well, see, I didn't have a problem with that out there. I know exactly where you're going. I didn't have a problem with it there.
Go ahead. Tell me, how many people?
Probably none of them.
Okay. Everywhere I go, I have my Bible with me.
On your phone?
On my phone.
Yes.
And it's King James. And I know you fuss at me about mine because I go into church and I do it. And a lot of people go into church and they're playing games or something or answering a text or something. I turn all that off. The only thing I have on mine is the Bible at the time I'm sitting.
Yes. However, if you'd let me finish.
Who's running
this? Is y'all have seen the term family feud?
Yeah.
What we got going on here?
I was against it originally. I resisted technology in the church. Outside the church, I use my phone. My Bible stayed up on the shelf. I use my phone or my tablet or my computer outside the church. No problem outside the church. Use what you can outside the church. But in the church, I absolutely refused. I was like, this is, and part of it may have been, this is what I use to make money. And you're not supposed to bring that in the church. You're not supposed to do business in church. You're not supposed to. That may have been part of it. But there was also the aspect of you respect the word. And I saw having it on your tablet, bringing in this piece of technology into church as a disrespect to God's word. I've changed my mind since then. I myself prefer to still have the physical book. But I will bring these in because it helps with presenting all this stuff and everything else. I always have my phone with me, but it got turned off or whatever. So that's to give an example of there are still people out there that resist the technology in church. They can come around, as I did, and it's a good thing to come around as long as you're using the technology in the right way and to further the commandments that we've been given. So. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I don't expect to get chewed out when you see me with my phone out.
No, I don't. I've stopped about 3 years ago.
Well, another way is read songs on the wall. I'm sure y'all have noticed, and in some cases, I think we may be doing it today. If when the person that normally plays the piano, instead it's recorded. I don't know if that's being done today or not.
I don't know.
Not today. And then he joins us, but you don't know that it isn't his piano playing because he's got it perfect. Yeah. He sings with us, and the music is just coming out of a little teeny squawk box down on the floor.
Technology is an amazing thing, and it can always be used for bad. That's undeniable. But we can look at it and always kind of approach new technology neutral, with an open mind. Not so open that your brain falls out, but with an open mind, and see if there's a way that it can be used to reach even more people. Any questions?
I have a comment. I think
yes.
what's most interesting about our kind of technology economy right now is with the social media stuff. We've gone over in this class churches, the first church who broke into television, and how much, cameras and lighting and all sorts of things that had to go into that. Whereas for really cheap, relatively, we're doing stuff on YouTube. We're able to, any of us have this ability. Anybody have a key fob? Like unlock your car? That actually has more computing power than what sent men to the moon.
Yeah.
So if that has more computing power than what sent men to the moon, right? Imagine your smartphone. You have on your smartphone, or even your dumb phone, the ability to, you have a recording studio, you have a video recording studio, you have a platform where you can, where you, an individual Christian, can speak the word to people literally around the world, that 20 years ago we didn't have. So what's interesting is it's not all the what is it, doorkeepers are gone. All the people who say, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that. You know, those sorts of things. You can. You have the ability, whether you take it or not, to proclaim the Lord Jesus Christ. Teach what he has heard, what he has said and taught to the ends of the world. You individually, by yourself. And the call, that's always been a call for all of us to do. It's not something that I'm getting into preaching. So.
That's all right.
I have a question.
Yes.
The Livestock Church,
Mm-hmm.
do they make money?
I don't think they make any money off of their social media accounts. Like there's a lot of people that post on YouTube and they have ads, and so they get the ad revenue from that. But I don't believe Life Church does that part. Now they've got a massive number of members throughout their 30 locations. So obviously they're making money from the offering and everything that they're putting into this. And I did not look up their app. So I don't know if the app costs anything or not.
No, it's
version? No.
It's unpaid? Okay. So yeah, they're not monetizing their platform for getting the word out there. They're not monetizing it. So they're making money in some way with most likely primarily just through the offerings and standard church offerings and everything. But as far as I can tell, they've not been monetizing any of the other stuff. They really are just putting it out there to try to get the people.
They're not governed by a session or?
They are governed by, it's very similar to a session, from what I can tell. I think they model it more after like independent Baptist style with the deacons and such. But the founder, who was the preacher in the garage, he's still the top guy. And then he's got 3 or 4 other people with him that's at least listed on the website. And I'm sure there's others that have voting power within the church as well. But I'm fairly certain that within, from that 30 locations that there is the hierarchical chain of command, especially since they don't have 30 preachers. They're doing the satellite, as far as I know. Right? That might have changed, and the information I found was out of date. But as far as I know, they're still doing the satellite preaching, so they got one preacher. And then in the individual churches, they have their deacons that do the shepherding and everything, the individual communication with the members.
One other comment, you probably have made the transition, just to clarify, you're talking about separating your business life with your church life and so forth. I agree with your dad. I have gone to the iPhone and used it exclusively. I don't know when I've opened my paper Bible before, because I use my phone exclusively. It's just so easy to navigate and find what you need and so forth, and all the things. But I want to clarify, don't ever try to separate the two. You want your work, your life, your faith all intermingled. I could never run my business or do the things I do in a daily life with my faith not driving what I do. So don't ever try to separate those two.
Yeah.
Just to make that comment.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think mine was stemmed mostly from when Jesus kicked the money changers and everything out of the temple. I was always worried about that portion, making the church the place of business was my probably the root there. But I've since realized, just because you're using the technology in church doesn't mean you're trying to make money via the church or anything. And I no longer, I used to be very judgmental against people that use their technology in the church and everything. Like I said, I fussed at my mom a few times probably. But I've since, it's their choice as long as they're receiving the word, then who am I to say it's the wrong way?
Well, another good thing about it too, I see hundreds of people a week, and if you're out there working with them and they bring up a subject that relates to the Bible, God's Word, and if you have it on your phone and you're used to using it, great time to be a witness at that point in time.
Yeah.
And if I had to run back home and get my Bible and get back over there, or to my car and get back, the event would be over with probably. So I'd have missed something. Now, I'm not saying I do it all the time, but I'm always waiting for that opportunity.
And with the apps like YouVersion, being that they have those different plans in there, we might be out there and not remember exactly which verse we need to bring up to try and lead somebody to the Lord. So we can pull up that app, look for their plans, the Romans Road or whatever, and then we're not having to always remember the Bible words. We may have the word hidden in our hearts still, which is another commandment. But at least for me, I have a terrible time remembering the reference. I know the words, but I can hardly ever remember the reference. So that's a huge benefit for me.
There's a search feature, so you just go, okay, what is that verse about?
Yeah.
Wheat and tares. Okay,
Yeah.
Look it up.
And there's a huge selection of reading plans from all different authors, and
Yeah.
it's not just one set of authors.
Yeah, and that's while I'm not partial to non-denominational style churches. The one benefit of one of the largest apps out there being from a non-denominational church means that they're going to have things from every denomination in there, so you can find one that fits, has the core values of whichever belief system that you're in.
Plus, you can enlarge the print.
Yeah.
Same thing with Right Now Media.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar sort of platform, videos from all sorts of different backgrounds, and yes, some of them are going to be very, very, very Baptist, and some of them are going to be more Reformed, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
You pick and watch what you feel is right for you.
I have another question. I think you mentioned last week or maybe before about how small churches have grown as a result of using the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we ought to be looking at? If we want to get a little bit bigger?
What are you doing that?
I know we are. But is there how to grow your church out?
No, unfortunately, no. That's a good idea. I might have to work on that. Now, there's the growth that's happening from that. I think you get a lot of remote members. Now, I don't know if we have anything directly on our website to really try and encourage that yet. But like Life Church, what they did, one of their first online churches, beyond just transmitting the video to the other locations, they were encouraging people, hey, stay at home, be as you are. A variation of come as you are. But now you can stay at home. Maybe you're not finding the kind of church you want in your local area, but we're 2 states away, so watch on TV or watch on internet. And so those people became remote members of the church. And so their website has ability where you can put your tithe in through the internet. We have that set up through PayPal. So now it takes an active part of the church to encourage that style of membership. So if we wanted to reach people and have more members via YouTube, then we'd have to mention that. We'd have to start to advertising it that way is the best way I can describe it on our website. And then also, like right now, we don't really speak too much to the camera. Hello, everybody watching on YouTube. I'm sorry I haven't said anything to you. We don't do that. And that's something that a lot of your successful YouTube channels, whether it be a church channel or some other channel that reviews games or something like that, the reason I go back and watch the guys I do that are reviewing games is because they're talking to me. They're not just spilling out words or anything. They're actually creating that interaction with their audience. The same thing with a news channel that I watch, Philip DeFranco show. Now he's a foul-mouthed kind of person, but he presents the news very neutral, very unbiased, and he speaks with the audience and not just at them or spilling the information out there. So that's something that we as a church would have to adjust to that. Right now, the majority of our YouTube videos is yes, we've said go watch church online. If you're not able to make it to church, watch it online. But for the most part, our YouTube videos is the equivalent of if we've been recording on DVD or cassette, and it's our history, our archive, as it were.
I want to ask Aaron this question.
Yeah.
Is there something like at the Presbyterian level or the Synod level that would keep us from having technological members?
No.
I think we ought to look into it.
Yep. Now,
and I do know that we have sort of more folks who are not able for work or whatever, able to attend all the time, we have a lot of those people who attend through, like they'll watch the services, and then when I see them, they go, "Oh, I've been keeping up with all of this," and that it's a connection that they have, continuing connection, even though they're not able to be here physically. So we do have that. We do have several people who will watch, who are not necessarily connected. Right? A lot of people at Springwater Festival will come up and, "Oh yeah, I watch you all the time." The daily prayer.
Yeah, I was going to say you're doing more in personal
much
there.
more engaging. That's engaging with the people who are watching type thing.
Yeah.
No, there's no reason to not pursue that. That would just be
I think we should do that.
Well, talk to your session member.
That's
You
right.
happen to be share a bed with.
You know anybody?
Unless I made her mad.
Oh right, well, yeah, that's true. But that's definitely
And then the
something.
dog gets that.
And back to the church growth, there's a lot of folks who say, this is how you do church growth. The way you do church growth is you faithfully follow Jesus Christ. And Life Church, I'm sure, didn't go set up and say, "Hey, we're going to be the internet church." They said, there are folks who, there are ways that we can use this technology to proclaim the word. Oh, there are people on Second Life who are roaming around on Sunday morning. Maybe they could come to a church service. Let's just try it out and see what it looks like. And that's the genesis of our doing stuff is me exploring and going, hey, maybe we can start doing this because this technology is available to us without having to pay for a subscription to whatever it is. And so it's seeking to be faithful. And how is God calling us in this time, in this place? And that's how you grow church members. You don't step 1, step 2, step 3, We can look at other churches and say, okay, this is how they did it. That can give us some ideas, but Life Church is not Faith Presbyterian Church. There are ways that we are going to do things differently because we're called to a different kind of ministry, but there are many things that we can look at other churches and say, that's something that at least we can try, and we can explore some of these things and discern where God is calling us to use the talents and abilities that we have in this room and outside of this room, the people that we have in this room and outside of this room, the technology that God has given us the ability to use and to use is the best.
I know there are a lot of unchurched people wandering, like you said, they're wandering around out there.
Absolutely.
And they probably would appreciate having a church home, even if it's just their internet.
Well,
or their computer.
I'm again getting into my sermon, but maybe, just maybe, it's not about, hey, you come here to visit us. Maybe it's let's go out and visit you and find you where you are, whether you're on Second Life or whether you're on, wherever.
Or as Jim said, whether you're in the hardware store.
Right, or if you're in the hardware store, or
Yeah.
talking to construction workers, or talking to students, or talking to voters, or talking to whoever you are, or talking on Facebook or whatever it is. How has God called you here and now in this place? Because God has called you here and now in this place.
Preach always use words when necessary.
That's right.
So when you're out there.
And they might be text words.
Right.
And they might not be verbal words.
That's right.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you. Oh, one more comment.
Yep.
One more comment. So I was in nominating committee of Presbyterian, and somebody else who was part of the nominating committee was bragging on this class, and Debbie, the associate stated clerk, eyes went, "Ooh, he would be wonderful for Community on Shared Ministry." Well, guess what? We have a new member of Community on Shared
Yeah.
Ministry. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll close in prayer. If there's any point in time anybody has any questions about whatever technology, whatever, let me know. I may not always have the answer immediately. Mike probably will. If I don't know it, I can Google it. But
the old people, we got lots of questions.
that's perfectly fine. Just realize I got a new child, so I can spend about 15 minutes after church every now and then. And then, we'll get all the questions answered eventually.
It's pretty good with old people.
I try. So we'll close in prayer and then we'll be dismissed. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for letting us all be able to come here together to learn from your word and to worship you. Please help us to go forward from this day and take the knowledge that we've learned and to approach technology as a tool that we can use for your to further your will. Help us to learn from your word to this morning in the service and to apply it to our lives as we go out this afternoon. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So good to have you folks with us today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Please,
I did.
Oh, yeah.
But I still